So you've bought an EV, or you're thinking about buying an EV, but you don't have a home charger yet, or you may not have the ability of getting a home charger. You might live in an apartment or have no off-street parking for your house. This video we're going to talk about, I'm living with an EV for 5 weeks without the access to charging where I live. PEUGEOT Ireland have given me their E2008. If you're interested in the actual car itself, there's a full review on the channel. I'll stick a link on the screen. But what we're going to talk about in this is how I found it over the 5 weeks, what's gone right, what's gone wrong, and what we can do. So hopefully this is a type of video that you're interested in. If it is, stay tuned. And I want to start at my nearest public charging offering, and that would be not that far away, only a couple of minutes walk away from me. I'm lucky in that sense, so I have the option of here at Tesco in just off the Glenageary. So you can see the Tesco supermarket here, and they have a ESB, that's a 50 kilowatt here DC, and there's a CCS and Chatham port on that, and an AC 43 kilowatt, or sorry, 43 kilowatt. And then there are, if you can see behind that BMW and that ID4, just up there, there is a 22, where's my finger? Just there. So you have the option of fast charging on this side and then slow charging on the other side. And it's great when it's when it works. But over the last 5 weeks, some of the things that have gone wrong, and as a lot of people think that I'm Mr. Positive about EVs, but we have to be realistic about it as well. So I'm trying to give it as straight as I can. So first of all, let's answer the question. If you don't have the access to charging, can you survive on public charging? And the answer to that is yes. It may not be the most convenient. And now with the recent price increase here in Ireland, and I know a lot of my viewers are in other countries as well, public charging and the ability to live on it is getting a bit more expensive as well. So calculating the costs, and you're probably going to jump straight into the comments going, what did it cost you for the 5 weeks? Well, it doesn't really matter. It's the price of the kilowatt. So you need to figure out what type of EV you're thinking of buying, and then the battery size and that, and then where you'll be predominantly charging it and what's the cost to charge there. So with the fast charging here, it's 60 odd cent a kilowatt for DC, and then with the slow charging, it's 50 odd cent. Slow charging, I call it, AC charging. The difference in it being that the cables are attached to the DC guy here on the left, and then on the AC on the right, you usually attach your cable to it. I have a neighbour of mine recently after buying a Nissan Leaf 2016, and for those that know, on the AC it's the Type 1. And he'd watched all my videos and thought he was ready to head off into the world of public charging with his EV, and he came to a tethered AC charging unit, which meant that the cable was already attached, and any tethered unit now predominantly is going to have Type 2. And so he was trying to figure out why doesn't this connector fit into his Nissan Leaf. So apologies, I try and cover a lot of things on the channel, but those fringe cases is an interesting one. So can you do it? Yes. Is it convenient? No, because you might have to sit and charge, fast charge, 45 minutes, or you might have to leave the car for a couple of hours when you're not around. What can go wrong, and has gone wrong for me in the last 5 weeks, is that DC, the whole site actually, DC and AC, all of those charging bays were offline. One of the days I wanted to come and charge, and so couldn't get charge here. Next thing was on the slow charge. I was traveling down to the Mayo, the west coast of Ireland, on a Sunday, and whatever, I must be practicing what you're preaching, but I knew I was going down a long distance. I knew I had to charge up, and I came over on the Friday night and plugged it in. So on the DC, on ESB cars here in Ireland, there's an overstay fee after 45 minutes of €8. And on the AC, there's an overstay fee of €8 after 10 hours. So you need to plug it in late enough so that you're not getting up too early to try and to have to come over and move it before you get the overstay fee. So I came over on the Friday night, plugged in the PEUGEOT E2008, and I'd have a full battery in the morning. Knew what time it was going to be full up, because when I plugged it in, I checked on the dash. It'll tell you on a lot of EVs what time it'll take to get to full, and you can set whether you're going to 80%, you can set whether you want to go to 100% if you're going on a long journey, just for battery health. And came back on the Saturday morning and it hadn't charged. So did the same thing Saturday night, came back on the Sunday morning, it was perfect. But if I'd left that to the Saturday night, I would have not have had the charge ready to rock for the Sunday. And so leaving yourself that redundancy, and it's not easy, don't get me wrong, and yeah, it sounds like a lot of faff, but you know what, if you want to go electric, if you want to reduce your emissions, if you want to be a bit more conscious about the climate crisis, the man-made climate crisis, these are the things we're going to have to do, because life can't always be convenient. We have to make sacrifices if we want to help everybody else around us. So there have been some of the things that have happened on just this unit here itself. Other things you need to think about if you are going public charging only on your EV is understanding what EVs chargings are around, the stations are around, and probably one of the best apps for that is ZapMap and PlugShare. I find PlugShare a small bit better because you could upload and add new charging stations fairly easily, whereas with ZapMap there's a bit more of a process. So if I find a new charging solution, so we're going to go through a couple of them on this video. As to some of the other options, rather than this ESB unit, there are other places that you can charge your car in public, slow and fast. So let's pop over to some of the other locations that I could use if I was owning this Peugeot E 2008 and I had no access to charging. So here's one of the other options that you would have with regards to, this is just an example of my local supermarket, and it has some AC charging here. It's starting to get to the case, and I know that EasyGo help a little with this, that these AC chargers probably not making a difference anymore, because you're only in the shop for 45 minutes, so you're getting not much, and the fact that they're charging for it now. But what I have seen is some supermarkets like Lidl and partnering with EasyGo putting in DC fast charging, because you're in for half an hour, 45 minutes. And I did this recently over Christmas and the New Year's with the Lidl in RD, I think it is, up in Louth. We were staying locally and we needed to get some shopping before we came home, and I needed to get some charge, and so I picked that Lidl because it had a fast charger and I needed to get more juice in, and I was happy to pay for the convenience of it. And so these slow chargers, and these were complimentary for a long time, these were flat out being abused probably. I was doing some filming at one of them over in on the north side of Dublin, and somebody was parked at one, and I said, how are you finding it? She goes, oh yeah, it's great, my husband's up in the other supermarket and I'm able to sit in here and charge for free. And I was thinking, well, it's like they're offering it service, at least you should be going in and doing your shopping with them. And so these are destination chargers, but I think that supermarket stay is probably a bit too short for this now. So supermarkets and other places like that, and I know that some hotel groups are looking at slow and fast charging, because slow charging, I call it slow charging, AC charging, is because your car can only take, if it's a high plug-in hybrid, 3.5 kilowatt. A lot of electric vehicles can only take 7, some can take 11, and then only a very few can take 22 kilowatt on AC. These chargers will go 7, 11, 22 depending on the charger as well. And so there's a whole education piece around there as to what your car can do, what the charger can do, what the use case is, and if I'm only here for 45 minutes, what am I really getting from something like this? It's great that it's here and it's another option, and if I'm staying locally, I could park overnight here. There's no gates or barriers, pay to use it, and the cost per kilowatt here might be cheaper than on the ESB and the newly updated and increased tariffs. So understanding where your overnight slower charging is in your neighborhood and the options that you have and the cost to that, and then also where your fast chargers are. So I know my fast charger, that 50 kilowatt down beside Tesco, with the ACs beside it, I'm surprised the ESB don't actually call it a hub, is there. There's another ESB up at the Talbot Hotel in Stillorgan. There's a ESB 50 these are all 50 kilowatts. Now with the Peugeot E 2008, this car can take up to 100 kilowatt on DC. So one of the great things about it, the battery is around 50 kilowatt, usable 45, 48. So the battery isn't big, so if I get a faster charger that can give it to it, that's what you want. And so these destination chargers are an option as well if you're living in, if you don't have the option to charge off street. Businesses are starting to get wise to it regarding, customers will start to utilize now. People will come here and charge while they're shopping, rather than a supermarket down the road that doesn't have chargers. So it's making that difference. I'm going to bring you now to some more and a different type of solution if you don't have off-street parking. So stick around. If you're enjoying this type of video, if you're thinking about it, like, comment, share. It gives great engagement on it, and obviously helps the algorithm understand that this is the type of content that you're interested in, and people that you know might be interested in it as well. And if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please do so. Thank you. Here we are at my local Woodies as well. I was driving past, and they have some complimentary AC charging here, and you can see there's a Nissan Leaf and a plug-in hybrid Audi A3. So consumers in the shop, and they're happy to get their free charge. So if you're not charging for it and you're not going to be abused, it's probably a good thing as a business. Like somebody's going to pull up here and charge their car for the day because it's kind of in a kind of an industrial estate-ish. So that just shows that these consumers are utilizing that free charging, which is great. Great to see more of it, more of these around. And when people see more of these around, if you haven't gone into the world of EVs yet, it starts to become the norm. So people coming into this Woodies are looking at it going, oh, if I got an electric car, I'd be able to charge my car here while I'm shopping inside. So yeah, lots of positives to this as well, and more of these are happening. So yeah, let's go off to that next destination, another what am I trying to say, the next solution to if you don't have off-street parking that could be of use to you. Here we are in Sandyford Business District in Dublin, and you can see this lovely green lamppost, and the reason that it's painted green is because it has a AC slow charger on it with Shell Ubitricity. And like the likes of this solution, if you haven't got off-street parking, you can actually see behind me there is a Honda E. Not a Honda E, Fiat 500e. Probably see it there. Plugged into the one behind me. And so these are staggered along here in the business district. I don't know whether it's a trial with Dún Laoghaire County Council or with the district themselves, but I get a lot of inquiries to my social media accounts with the EV Review Ireland or with work with Nevo.ie. People saying, I live in an apartment or I haven't got off-street parking. What are the things that we can do? And getting onto your local authority or your municipality, if you're in the United States, or your local council, and say, I'm thinking about going electric. What are the plans for putting in chargers in my area? I know that Dublin are looking at a mix of this using existing street furniture, putting in fast charging hubs, so maybe 4, 6, 8 DC fast chargers, so that if you're traveling for the weekend on a Thursday even, you might go over for 45 minutes, charge your car fast charge, and then bring it back. Or you've got these slow options. So there's lots of different solutions out there. If your council or local authority or municipality is dragging their heels a small bit, get on to your elected representatives and say, this is what we want as your we are your constituents, and so once the councillors and the people on the local board start getting on to the people working in the local boards and in the councils, then there's the shift. So you have to make your voices heard. If things aren't working, if EV chargers aren't working. I know I was down in Belmullet, and their Aldi there has 2 AC slow chargers in the car park and haven't worked for months. And going back to what apps do you need for all this, and yes, everything needs a different app and at the moment, but there is coming down the line tap to pay. But I think the apps will still be there. So with this, you might have the opportunity of signing up to the Ubitricity app, and it might be 50 cents per kilowatt, and they might have tap to pay on it, and it might be 55 cents. So you might have to pay. You may pay less if you want the convenience, or if you want to give them your data. So this is using existing street furniture, pulling your car in, whether you're coming into work here or whether it's overnight, you're living in one of the apartments around here. So there are solutions out there. We just have to make sure that you're aware of them, that your board of management or your local authority or whoever owns the land is aware of them. So there's one other place I want to bring you to now that is another solution that I think we should look at as an industry as a whole. Huge thanks to my Patreon supporters who help keep this channel on the go. New Patreon supporter Adrian Carey, Blake Boland from EV Life Ireland, Eve Daly and Mark. That's a way to support the channel. You can hit the subscribe button, comment, like, share, and there's other links in the description. If you like this type of video where we're chatting about owning an EV, check out my EV features playlist where I talk different episodes on what apps you might need, what to consider when you're buying your EV, how to extend your range, etc, etc. So go and check out that playlist. I'll stick it on the screen and also in the description. One of the questions I like to ask the automotive manufacturers and dealerships is, what are you doing to help the drive to electric vehicles? Yes, they are providing the vehicle, but are they putting in infrastructure that will help people charge when they want to charge? Nissan were doing this in Ireland. They were putting in CHAdeMO chargers for their Nissan Leafs, and that's still the case. And with Porsche in Dublin, you have a super fast charger there. So if you are a Porsche driver, we're here at Tesla in Dublin, and they've recently opened their supercharger. So you've got, this is a Sunday morning at nearly 10 o'clock, and the 4 superchargers are full. And so if you're a Tesla driver and you're in this area and you want to supercharge, you're not faffing around with 50 kilowatt ESB e-cars chargers at my Tesco or at the Talbot Hotel in Stillorgan, one of them, and if there's a car or 2 cars in front of you, whereas with here, you know, there's at least 4, and it just shows you on a Sunday morning, maybe these people were spending the weekend in Dublin, or maybe they're going away on a longer journey today, but they know they can come here, there's 4 chargers, and they can supercharge their Tesla. And this is proprietary only to Tesla, but I think other manufacturers should also do this with regards to putting in 2, 3, 4 DC chargers, so that, and Tesla aren't giving this away for free now, whereas I know with Nissan it was complimentary to Nissan owners, whereas Tesla are charging their customers this. They had to pay to put the infrastructure in. So I'm not saying that dealerships should do this, and I'm talking to dealerships at the moment looking to upgrade their EV infrastructure, but what EV dealerships should, whatever the brand is, should be putting in that infrastructure. I know in the United States, Ford are doing this with their Ford Blue and Ford Green and all this. Whether you're an EV dealership or not, you have to put in EV infrastructure. It's building the infrastructure for other people to use. It's a revenue line that you're adding to your dealership. There is the cost, there is that investment there. But I just thought it was an interesting, I think this, now Tesla didn't have this for a long time. They've just opened this in Dublin, but I think all Tesla showrooms should have this capability as well, because certain areas are very much underserved. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments what you think, what other solutions are out there. I've only it's only the tip of the iceberg with regards to the options for public charging. The main question is, can you do it? Yes, you can. You just have to get on the likes of the PlugShare app, see what's around you. You can see what the cost is. You might have to sign up to a couple of apps. It's not as convenient as having a home charger, but if you haven't got that option, but it can be done. It can be done, and you just have to watch the costs as well as to what you're paying. Remember, if you think an EV is for you, leave it to me and I'll review. Thank you very much for watching.